I want to make sure that you know where you financially set. When you know where you're financially set, you have confidence, you have clarity, and you have more power in your life and business. When you have a lack of clarity there, it's going to bleed into your business, and you're going to start to have fear and worry, and it's going to start to impact how you operate. And to me, you are your greatest asset, not a stock, bond, or piece of real estate. It's you. You invest back into yourself, but your asset that's the most profound asset is your business. And most financial people are going to separate you and your money from your business, which is one of the greatest costs that you're going to have, because retirement is a farce, and we need to retire that concept altogether and create a life you don't want to retire from. And then instead of having this major cost that you're putting money into things you don't understand, and when the market goes down, you're feeling bad about yourself, you reinvest that back into what you're doing and then create risk-free capital on any money that transfers from your business to your personal finances. And I want to create that risk-free capital in 4 ways that don't require money out of your pocket. The first way is save you on tax. Most people tip the government. Look, I think tipping's great for waiters or for Uber drivers, but this would be like tipping someone that ate 37.5% of your meal and peed in your soup. You know what I'm saying? Or sorry, we're in Canada, ate 55% of your meal and peed in your soup. So number one is I want to put that money back in your pocket legally and ethically by giving you the framework. And by the way, it doesn't matter what country you're in because I'm giving you the framework. I'm not going to give all the details. You can talk to me about those on the breaks and stuff like that. Number 2, I want you to understand interest. See, we all have interest cost. Whether you pay cash for something and you forfeit the right to earn interest, or whether you borrow money and you pay that interest, there's always an interest cost, but everyone in the room has to understand their cost of money. Your cost of money is your highest net sustainable rate of return. So what can you get long term? Like people outside of this room, you know what their cost of money is? 29% on their credit card. Every time they don't pay it off and they spend that money, it's costing you $1.29. In this room, it's where could you allocate that capital to get a good return? And once you understand that, you start to understand interest, and therefore you learn how to earn it and sometimes even utilize it. The third category is investments. On the investment side, number 1, first and foremost, I want you to learn how to mitigate risk and protect the downside. When you don't protect the downside, it's not just the loss of money, it's the loss of energy and attention from that loss. The second piece of this investment side is I want you to find non-performing fees, hidden commissions, and the things that confiscate your wealth. This is how impactful small percentages are. If you had 100 grand and you could make 10% a year over 30 years, it grows to $1.74 million. If you have even less than 1% of a management fee, let's say 0.8%, right? Instead of being $1.74 million, it's $1.4 million. That's a $340,000 difference because there's not only compound interest, there's compounding costs. And there's so many fees that we don't pay attention to that rob our wealth, and I want to put that money back into your pocket because what does that mean? Less risk, more money. And that's the mantra, less risk and more money. The fourth category is insurance. It's not a fun topic to talk about, but if you understand it, you're going to find out most people have duplicate coverages, improper structure, and unnecessary risk. So if I can help you eliminate that so that your dollars go further to protect yourself, and when I'm talking insurance, I'm not just talking about buying coverage, I'm talking about insurance comes from your education, because when you understand money, you're better educated, you lose less of it. Number 2, asset protection, and here's that mantra, I want you to own nothing but control everything. The Rockefellers invented that philosophy, they've done it so well, and they're in their 6th generation of wealth. It's unprecedented. 200 people benefit from that trust, yet they don't really have trust fund Rastafarian babies that just wait for money. They're all doing things, even if it's nefarious, in the world, okay? And yeah, I guess I've studied the Rockefellers more than other people in the room. It could be worse. We could talk about the Rothschilds. People are like, why didn't you write that book? I'm like, because I didn't want everybody to commit suicide after reading it. Like, that's some dark shit. So, but own nothing, control everything. For example, in my life, I have an asset protection trust. I don't own it. But what happens is I have a distribution trustee that I get to choose who that is, and if they don't do what I want, I can fire them and hire someone new, which means I have full access to my money, but no one else does because it's protected from financial predators. And the more successful you are, the more likely you're going to have financial predators in your life because it's just the way the world works. Just in the United States alone last year, 20 million lawsuits were filed. That's pretty substantial in a population with 350 million people, okay? So there's asset protection, there's education, and there is actual insurance that helps you transfer risk. But one of the things I want to make sure everyone gets today, because you're going to hear this over and over, and it's bullshit, people are going to tell you, what's your risk tolerance? Risk tolerance is a faulty notion that gets you to believe that high risk equals high return. And if you have a belief in a faulty premise of high risk equals high return, risk means chance of losing, then what you're going to do is have this proclivity to take higher risk than needed, and therefore that chance of loss is going to impact you through volatility over time. So anytime someone says, what's your risk tolerance? Say, I want to take the least amount of risk possible. I take my risk in my business, where I have a lot more control and influence, and I can make adjustments along the way. When you put your money in things you know nothing about, that's risky, and that risk will rob you of your wealth over time. But this is part of the problem with living your richest life, is that we've continued to go through the check boxes of I want more, and more is better, and that more is better is at the expense of quality of life along the way. So quality of life along the way is the barometer where you define the rules, where you determine the win, and then you've already won the game once you've designed a game worth playing. And that's what Dan's book's about. That's what Dan's life's about. That's why I'm excited to be here, because the society, when it comes to money, is telling you what Wall Street wants. And is Wall Street a place we would trust in any other way? Like, would you take your kids to Wall Street daycare? Oh, sorry, we lost 8% of your son, but it's just toes. I think they grow back. Like, no one would do that, yet we trust them with our money. Why? Why would we trust them with our money? Watch The Big Short, watch Margin Call, read the newspaper. Like, every time and everywhere we turn, it's continuing to be a thing that isn't helpful for our money. And so what I want to do is help you keep more of what you make without cutting back. And in my book, What Would the Rockefellers Do? I did this study where I said, what if people double the rate of return of their retirement plans? And what if all I had to work with was these 4 categories: tax, interest, non-performing fees, and improper structure with insurance? And my job was just to show people how to put more money in their pocket by redesigning that. And I beat doubling their retirement plan by 400% every single time. As a business owner, you can absolutely lower your risk by simply being more financially savvy and efficient. So that's the key. So let me give you some of the frameworks, and then we'll go through, and I'm going to help you eliminate the blind spots. Blind spots in my world means it's something lurking in the future that you haven't prepared for, and it comes in and confiscates wealth because of lack of preparation and knowledge. And this is where most people are, because when I was 19 years old, I started in the financial business, and I passed some tests, and I told people I was a financial advisor. I wasn't a financial advisor. I passed a test while I was 19 years old. It took me less than 2 weeks to study for. Yet, was I helping them with estate planning or asset protection or tax planning or any of that? No. I was selling them mutual funds. I was a glorified salesperson, and every time I went to a training, all they did was tell us how to build trust and rapport and how to get the transaction done. And once the transaction was done, there was no conversation about how to keep working with them or help them out, because guess what? In the financial world, if someone does an RRSP for the Canadians or superannuitization for Australians or 401ks and IRAs here, it's an 8.5-year cycle of retention if they do jack shit. Why? Because they don't want to talk to financial people, because they know when they do, they're going to try to separate them from their money, and they're going to try to convince them that this other plan is better than the last plan, and nobody wants to go like, oh, what I did was so bad, now I need to move to this other thing, and then someone else is going to tell me how bad it is. So I'm here to help you with the things that people aren't talking about, which is efficiency and keeping more of what you make. You don't have to budget. As a matter of fact, this is all you really have to do with your personal finances, is every time you pay yourself, you take 18% off the top and move it into a separate account. You have your banks automatically do this. I call it a wealth capture account, okay? There's a reason for 18%. The first 3% is because tax fluctuations. We're saving for the future. The next 3% is for propensity to consume. Once Taki had good coffee, he can't go back to Folgers. You know what I'm saying? So that's propensity to consume. Once you've been to Kelowna, you can't go live in Calgary. I mean, it's just, you know, this is a better quality of life. Probably more expensive, though. So that's propensity to consume. A luxury once enjoyed becomes a necessity. 3% for technological change, because cell phones didn't exist at one time, but even homeless people have them now. So as things continue to evolve, you don't want to be the one on rubber tires when everybody is like the Jetsons floating around here, you know? So we need 3% for that. 3% for planned obsolescence. Things break and you replace them, right? We've got like 3 roofers. I'm replacing my roof on my brand new house 2 years later because whoever did it the first time didn't do it right. So 100 grand, that's planned obsolescence. The insurance company said, we'll cover 60. I'm like, well, I guess I'll cover the other 40 because I want it done right this time, right? So planned obsolescence. Then 3% for inflation. I know inflation's way higher than that, but remember, we just had 12% with these other numbers. So 15% you're gonna save off the top, but the good news is I'm gonna help you find the 15%. Now the final 3%, I want another account called your Living Wealthy account. And the rule is, if you've already saved 15%, this last 3% is for you to do whatever you want with it, to enjoy. What are the things that you might say, well, this is like, should I have paid $1,500 for this sexy jacket? I don't know, but I like it, so I bought it, right? Yeah. Should I pay $400 for a shirt with a whatever the hell this is on it, right? Yeah. This one. I don't even care. Judge me. It came from the Living Wealthy account, so I just freely spend it. And then my parents and everyone else might think it's crazy, but I have zero guilt with it because it came from an account that reminded me that I did all the right things. And by the way, because I don't budget, I don't have constraint and scarcity dictating my life. I automatically put money aside, I automatically save, and I deliberately invest. Automatically save and deliberately invest. If you're putting money in a retirement plan, that's not saving, that's investing. You want to save first, and guess what? The best opportunities are when the markets are crazy and everybody's losing and you have cash and you acquire that business because they're struggling. Like, this is the deal. Malcolm Gladwell wrote an article for the New Yorker, I'll post it in the WhatsApp, where he talked about the wealthiest people did what was called pounce and predatory investing. I hate the term predatory, but ultimately they were people that sat in cash, and when everything was distressed, they would sit in cash for extended periods of time where people are like, you're not earning anything. But then when everyone else is like, well, I can't sell now because the market's down and you gotta wait for it to come back up, they would acquire. And you know what? In the next 7 years, 50% of the businesses change hands in the world right now. 50%. That's what they're expecting. The amount of trillions of dollars that are moving hands the next 10 years is unprecedented. So there's going to be a lot of people that are, aging and moving on. And by the way, with what you're learning here and what you can do with AI, they're never going to adopt it because they're already checked out. And you could grab something and exponentially grow it. But this takes a different level of thinking when it comes to investing. Investing is only aligned with your investor DNA, or it's not an investment, it's a gamble. Investor DNA is your values, your competencies, it's your drivers and what you're excited and passionate about, and it's focus over diversification. Diversification is when you're wealthy beyond the place of allocating your capital. Focus is your growth opportunity. Focus and protect. Diversification becomes diversification for most people because they spread themselves thin, have too much that can go wrong, and then all of a sudden they got to go pay attention to something that's broken, distracting them from their business, their family, their lifestyle, and everything that matters. And you can tell it's going wrong because they're getting heavier, they don't go out, they're super frustrated, and guess what? Every single customer suffers. If we fired every financial advisor tomorrow, all the entrepreneurs would start growing exponentially because they would stop wasting their time with bad ideas. These bad ideas separate you from your money, destroy your mindset, invite in scarcity, all because you feel guilty for not being prepared for retirement, which was a stupid idea in the first place. Hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And if you're enjoying these videos, well, there's good news. More where that came from, so go ahead and click through and watch the next video now.